So I want to find the Banzahf power index for a voting system that has 3 players and a quota of 8. So what I need to do is first list all possible coalitions. So the single player coalitions are P1, P2, P3. Two-player coalitions are P1 and P2, P1 and P3, P2 and P3, and finally a three-player coalition is P1, 2, and 3. So I start by calculating the weight of the coalition. Well, when it's just one person, P1 is just the weight of P1, which is 6, and that is not enough to win, so we say no. So we don't do anything if it's not a winning coalition. For P2, I have a weight of 3, also not winning, don't do anything. For P3, on its own, the weight is 2, also not winning, don't do anything. Now let's look at P1 and P2 together. So that would be 6 plus 3, which is 9, and that is bigger than the quota of 8, so yes, that is a winning coalition. So now I need to figure out which players are critical, and a player is critical if removing them turns the coalition to losing. So let's start by removing player 1, and the new weight when you remove player 1 is 3, and that is not winning. Therefore, P1 is critical. And then I'm going to remove P2, and when you take P2 out, you're left with just P1, which is 6. That is also not winning. So both player 1 and player 2 are critical. So P1 is critical, and P2 is critical. All right, now let's look at player 1 and player 3. So if I do 6 plus 2, I get 8, and that is enough to win, so I say yes. So I need to figure out who is critical. So I am going to remove first player 1, and all I'm left with is a weight of 2. That is not winning. So since removing player 1 made it not winning, player 1 is critical in this coalition. Then I'm going to remove the other player, which is player 3. And when you remove player 3, the weight is just 6. That is also not winning. So therefore, player 3 is also critical. So both player 1 is critical and player 3, player 3 is critical. All right, let's go to player 2 and 3. So the total weight of that coalition is 3 plus 2, which is 5, and that is not big enough to win, so that is not a winning coalition, so we don't do anything. So the last coalition we need to look at is when all 3 are there. So when we add all 3 weights, we get 6 plus 3 plus 2, which is 11, and yes, that is winning. So we need to, one at a time, remove one player. So we're going to start by removing player 1. When you remove player 1, you're left with a coalition of 3 plus 2, which is 5. That is not winning. Therefore, player 1 is critical. Now let's remove player 2. When we remove player 2, we're left with 6 plus 2, which is 8. That is a winning coalition. Therefore, player 2 is not critical because they are not needed to win. So now let's remove player 3. When you remove player 3, you're left with 6 plus 3 is the weight, which is 9, which is also winning. Therefore, player 3 is not critical. So the only critical player in this coalition is P1. So P1 is critical. So now, to figure out the Banzahf power index, we need to figure out how many times players were critical. So we move over up here, and we look and see that player 1 was critical. Let's see, once, oops, let's move this back over. 1 time here, 2 times here, 3 times. They were critical 3 times. Player 2 was critical just once right there, so 1 time. and player 3 was critical just one time right there. So the total number of times being critical is 5. So now we just compute the fraction of this. So player 1 was critical 3/5 of the time, player 2 1/5 of the time, and player 3 1/5 of the time. And you can put these answers into MyOpenMath.